Hey there YouTube, Dwayne here again. Badman Scale Customs coming to you from my paint shop. I want to do a little video here for a couple of guys that I know who are just getting into the airbrushing and been getting a number of questions regarding compressors and so forth. So what I thought I'd do is just film a short video on what I use, and maybe kind of go over a little bit of the different types of compressors out there for you. And also go through the I have two airbrushes that I use. I'll go over those as well. So so first things first, I guess we'll talk about the airbrushes. I use most of the work that I do, I use a Pache Talon or Pache or whatever, however you want to pronounce it. I'm really not sure of the correct pronunciation, so just as long as you know what I'm talking about. This is a siphon feed, and this is a dual action. So the dual action is air and pull back for paint flow, and you can control your paint flow in that respect. The air pressure you can't. It's there when the second you press the button, you've got whatever you've got your regulator set to is what you have for pressure. So that's the Pache that I use. I also have a Badger 200, and the difference between the two brushes is this is a single action, and that just means when you set your paint flow, you have to set it manually. You set the amount of flow you like, hit the button, you got consistent flow every time you press the button. As where the dual action, you control very light paint flow to, when you pull all the way back on it, it blares out of there. So both of these are siphons. I use the siphons because I have them. I don't have necessarily a preference between a siphon or a gravity feed. Gravity feeds are nice. They use up all the paint in the cup. With the siphon, if you're using a bottle, there's always going to be a little bit of paint left in it that siphon tube that's in the bottle won't get. So advantage, you can with the siphon, if you can buy these bottles that come with lids. You can have paint pre-mixed ready to go. I have some here. This is Tester's black gloss enamel, and I like to just have it ready to go for when I'm doing my base coats for my spastics and stuff like that. So you already have the bottles pre-mixed. They do come with cups, color cups as well. You can just dump whatever you want to mix up. Just a little. You're doing a real small job, like with the all-clad steel. There is pour a little bit into the cup and away you go. So those are the airbrushes. I recommend guys try both, and whichever one you prefer. You might prefer a siphon for some jobs, and you might prefer the gravity feed for others. That's something that's a personal thing, I think, and I'm not quite as fussy. The siphon feed brushes are just what I happen to buy. So now moving on, air compressors. One more thing with these two brushes, because one's a Pache and one's a Badger. There are the fittings on the air valves are different sizes. So the Badger, I was able to purchase an adapter that will adapt to the Pache air hose. I only have the one hose. I managed to destroy the other one that I have, so I have to switch brushes over to hoses. You can have a hose per brush if you like, or have a, some guys like to set up a manifold with multiple air lines and airbrushes all hooked up together at once. That's a whole other ball of wax. I'm not quite that advanced with my equipment there. So now, as far as the air compressor goes, I'm just using just a little, standard hardware store. This particular one was Canadian Tire brand. It's Mastercraft. It's got a 3-gallon air tank on it. It's got your regulator. The reason I use this one is because it happened to be on sale that day that I went to buy an air compressor. So 50 or 60 bucks, I can't remember what this one was, but I think this was regularly like 97, right around $100 at regular price. So I got like 40% off type thing there, which I felt was a pretty reasonable deal, because at that time my original compressor had gave up the ghost there. So, but and as far as using this type of compressor, I mean, this is a noisy compressor, so you pay 60 bucks for a compressor. Don't expect a super quiet one. For me, it doesn't matter. I don't mind I paint out in the shop, so noise isn't a factor for me. And as far as the fittings go, this comes standard with a quick release fitting. This is a larger size, a 1/4 inch fittings, which this fitting adapted straight onto my Pache airline. A little sealer on there, and you're good to go. And that's as simple as it is to adapt, your airbrush to a compressor like this. Now the hobby compressors, I don't know an awful lot about them. I don't know what types of fittings that they use. I presume that some of them have a fitting that you can just thread that airline straight onto. I know the Badger airline its compressor end is a much smaller end, so as far as adapters go, all this stuff should be available at either maybe a plumbing shop or hobby shops. I know our hobby shops in Calgary here carry all kinds of different adapters. They're usually in stock, and that's not usually a problem for me. But I've talked to a number of guys, and they tell me that their hobby stores don't stock a lot of this stuff, so they gotta look and order online, which can be kind of a nuisance, because you got to make absolute sure as to what you need and before you order it, sort of thing. As if you can go into the store with your air hose and even take this end off, take that with you, whatever, it's be a little easier to adapt that stuff over. So anyhow, so really, yeah, that's all I use. That's a $60 air compressor. Makes lots of noise, but it gives me good steady pressure. I usually set it, when I set it with my airbrush trigger depressed, because it will drop a little bit. This one actually, I've spilled. I've spilled a bunch of paint here, so it's difficult for me to read this is just a pressure relief valve. You pull it and it releases all the pressure, so sorry about that, guys. And then as far as water separators and that, I have used them. I live in a really quite a dry climate here in Alberta. There's not a lot of humidity here, so I could have gotten away without using any type of water trap, water separator, but you know, there is a little risk to that. What I do is, there's a drain valve on this here. I occasionally crack that and make sure that there isn't any moisture in the tank. So, but anyways, that's my 2 cents on the air compressor. I know lots of guys probably have questions on these adapter fittings. I think this is what stops a lot of guys from you know, getting going. So, but as you can see, that's just a plain quick release connector, the same you'd get it, you know, your automotive shop that they run all their air tools and stuff on. That's all that is. So you can even get that at an auto parts store, you know. And I know a guy who's got this same airbrush, so there you go. That's all you need. And if you don't have this end on the compressor, you buy the female end, male end. That should thread straight on to the, there's a pipe thread on here that goes into the regulator. So anyways, that's about it for this. You know, I do know the hobby compressors are a lot quieter, and a lot of them don't have a tank on them. But again, there's a choice, but they are more expensive, so there you go. Anyways, see you in the next video, guys.